All right, hello everyone. We're going to talk about pedigrees. Pedigrees are pretty much just like family trees. Most people have heard of a family tree or seen a family tree. Here's an example of Donald Duck's family tree. Excuse me. And this is kind of how a pedigree is set up and kind of how it looks. So let's go ahead and talk about it. All right, first we need to know what a pedigree is. A pedigree is a diagram that traces the inheritance of a particular trait through several generations. All right. One of the most important things about about the pedigree is you need to know how to read it. Okay. So you need to look at a key. So here's the key over here. It tells you that these shapes, the square and the circle that are shaded in, those represent affected individuals. So individuals that have whatever trait that you're trying to track. Okay, they have that trait and they show the phenotype for that trait. All right, and then you have the square and circle down here that is not shaded in, and those are the unaffected individuals. By unaffected, it means they are normal. Just a second. All right, sorry about that. I got something on my computer. So again, with the keys, the ones that are shaded in are the affected individuals. The ones that are not shaded in are the unaffected individuals. And then if you look at this diagram right here, the circles represent the females, the squares represent the males. All right. And we're going to get a much larger key on the next slide. All right, so these are the main symbols that you really need to write down and remember in order to properly read a pedigree chart. So we'll kind of go over them individually. You have the circle that is not shaded in. That's a normal because it's not shaded in, right? It's a normal female. So the circle represents a female. The square that is not shaded in, it represents a male. All right, and the next line, it could either have a dot inside of the circle or half of it could be shaded. It represents a carrier or heterozygous female. So, and by carrier, that's when you carry the allele for that trait, but you don't actually show that trait. So if we're talking about dimples, you would carry the allele for dimples, but you would not actually show dimples, on your face. You wouldn't see dimples. All right. And of course, you should know what heterozygous means. That's when you just have, you have one of each allele. You have the dominant allele and also the recessive allele. Here, same thing, a man that's going to be heterozygous. Shaded in, we learned this on the first page. That's for the affected female. The square that's shaded in, that's the affected male. This horizontal line right here, it means marriage or that you had a child. All right. This vertical line right here represents generations. That means if you have, a circle here and a square over on this side, connected with the line like this in marriage, and then a vertical line coming from that, it's saying that it's the next generation. That's the next generation, or these are the kids that they had. Okay. These connected lines like this are siblings. So if there's a circle at the bottom of this one, and a circle at the bottom of this one, and a circle at the bottom of this one, all three of those circles, all three of those females are sisters. Okay. Siblings means brothers or sisters. All right. I'll show you these. We don't use these much, but this right here represents identical twins. You don't use it much, and these are fraternal twins, the ones that do not look alike, and they could be boy or girl. All right. It says Roman numerals represent generations as well. On the outside, you'll usually have for the first generation Roman numeral 1. For their kids, which is the second generation, you'll have Roman numeral 2, and so on and so on and so on. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so if you can use that key and create your own pedigree, with your family, your immediate family, which means, your mom, your dad, maybe your brothers and sisters, you may even be able to go get do your grandparents. Excuse the bell. You may be able to do, your grandparents, then their kids, and, you, long story short. But if it's kind of difficult to do that, because I know some of our families are different, you can just go from your parents and just do your brothers and sisters. All right, so you can try that. Of course, you want to use the pedigree symbols when you do that. The circles, the squares, the horizontal lines, the diagonal lines, the lines that represent siblings. All right, so you can try and draw your immediate family. All right, pedigree analysis. That's what you actually do in order to get the information from the pedigree. So, inferring genotypes, which is says knowing the physical traits can determine what genes an individual is most likely to have. Predicting disorders. It says record keeping helps scientists use pedigree analysis to study inheritance patterns and determine phenotypes and certain genotypes. Basically, by keeping record of these disorders or diseases or phenotypes that are shown in your families, then you can track the most likely pattern of who might get it next or where it may be passed to, things like that. All right, here goes an example. It's a pedigree practice problem. I'm going to kind of talk you through it. If you look up in the top right here, it's talking about two different traits, dimples and, one trait, two different alleles, dimples, no dimples. All right, so you can either have dimples, capital D, because it's dominant, or no dimples, lowercase d, recessive. Having dimples is dominant to not having dimples. Moving on. Here goes a problem. A man and woman marry. They have 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys. Their mother, Mary, has dimples. The father had, here we go. Let's start over. The mother, Mary, has dimples. Her mother had dimples, but her father did not. Mary's oldest child, Courtney, has dimples, but her other daughter, Irene, does not. Her middle and youngest son, Walter and Parker, respectively, have dimples, but her oldest son, Scott, doesn't. All right, if you need to read that over and over again until it becomes clear to you, go ahead and do so. A says, Courtney marries, her daughter Courtney from here. So if you need to read back, go ahead and read over it. Courtney marries a man without dimples. What is the likelihood that they will have a child with dimples? So you got to ask yourself, does Courtney have dimples? Go back into the problem and read it and find out if Courtney has dimples or not. All right. Then B says, Parker marries a woman without dimples. What is the likelihood that they will have a child who is the same as its grandfather with respect to the dimple trait? So that means you have to look and find out, one, who Parker is first, if he has dimples or not, know that he married a woman without dimples, and the question is asking, will the child be the same as his grandfather with having dimples or not? So find out if the grandfather had dimples or not.